Good evening. I would like to call to order the Keizer City Council. It is Monday, August 3rd, 2020, and ask our city recorder to please call roll.
Councilor Kohler?
Here.
Councilor Herrera?
Here.
Mayor Clark?
Here.
Council President Freeman?
Here.
Councilor Smith?
Here.
Councilor Reed?
Councilor Reed is excused.
And Councilor Parsons.
Councilor Parsons is excused tonight. Would you all please join me and rise if you are able for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for joining us this evening, both here in council chambers and online for our meeting this evening. It is a beautiful evening outside, so if you're at home, maybe you can take your computer outside. I know I do that when I'm Zooming. Special orders of business, we have nothing on that item tonight. And committee reports, did we get anybody, Tracy, there you are, who is here to do a committee report? Looking at the audience, if anyone here is representing one of our committees or commissions. Tracy's going to check. Nope, we are good. Okay, then we will go on to public testimony. This time is provided for citizens to address the council on any matters other than those on the agenda scheduled for public hearing. We have two public hearings scheduled this evening. Item 7A, which is the Keizer Station Area D Master Plan Amendment. Thank you, Tracy. And 7B, resolution exemption from the brand name specification purchase of Surface America Fall Protection product from competitive bidding and purchasing play structure materials. So if you're here for those two, stand by. I have the sign-in sheets here. If you're here for another reason, I don't have anybody signed up, but the floor is open for people who would like to participate in public testimony at this time. Okay, then we will go on to our public hearings. At this time, I'd like to open item 7A, Keizer Station Area D Master Plan Amendment. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Witham. Mr. Johnson. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris, Madam Mayor, and Council. We have a quasi-judicial hearing, which we haven't had for a long time, so I get to read this quasi-judicial statement. Before I go on, I want to make sure to tell Council I have some family duties tonight, so I will be leaving at the end of administrative action. So, for those of you for the hearing on the Area A Master Plan Amendment, please pay attention. Here is the statutory warning. The applicable substantive criteria for this case are set forth in Keizer Development Code section 3.113.06. Testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed towards those criteria described or other criteria in the plan or land use regulations which you believe apply to the decision. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the City Council and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. For the applicant, the failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow the government or its designee to respond to that issue precludes an action for damages in circuit court. And for the council, now's the time if you have to declare any bias or ex-party contacts.
With that, I'll look around. This is the Area D Master Plan has been in the works for a very long time. So are you talking since this came back up or since the beginning? Because
Just until it came up.
okay, because this goes way back. So from the time we were notified that this had to come back to council till now. So that's the time frame we're working on. Anybody? All right.
For the participants, prior to the close of the hearing, you need to state...
stand by. Councilor
Stand
Smith.
I do have a possible one. My daughter is a registered Grand Ronde Tribal member. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
For the participants, prior to the close of the hearing, you need to state any objections to bias, conflict of interest, ex-party contacts, jurisdiction of the council to hear this matter, or opportunity to be heard. Any questions on the statutory notice? And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Witham for the staff report.
Thank you very much.
Councilor Johnson. Madam Mayor and City Council, thank you very much. So tonight's public hearing on Area D is a master plan amendment. The original master plan was approved way back in 2004. It envisioned a mix of commercial and industrial business park type uses. The area that is subject to the amendment is just the northern portion of what we call the jug handle, or north of Eulalie Drive. It's the area where all of the rocks and digging and dirt and whatnot has been moved around out there. And the packet's kind of thick, so I'm not going to walk through all of it. I don't know if Nate would have done that back in the day, but that's hopefully not. So, you know, a lot of it is submitted because it has to be submitted. The full application that the applicant gave us was submitted with attachments, so there's some duplicity there with some of the site plans. I apologize for that, but I'll try to walk through just kind of the highlights of the changes for you, and then if you have questions, I will entertain those, however many you may have. Essentially, the changes kind of are represented on the site plans. The original site plan is found on page 20 of your packet. The proposed changes are both page 22 and 23. One is a larger, the whole area. The other is kind of blown up for the jug handle. So if you kind of want to follow along with that, that might be helpful. Essentially, with the original approval in that jug handle area, it proposed 3 buildings, a retail tenant space that was kind of mixed retail users that were not yet identified of 13,000 square feet, a drive-through restaurant of 3,200 square feet, and a convenience store / gas station support building of 3,200 square feet that was going to maybe have a drive-through as well. And then there was a detention water feature, we'll call it, in essentially the northeast corner of the site. And the proposed amendment is going to reconfigure the buildings a bit and add a building. So primarily that water feature detention area, which was originally intended for stormwater management, they've moved that to be underground, which is all the digging and the pipes that have been put in the ground that we've kind of all watched. And so that created some space to be able to be captured by the applicant, and they're proposing a new 2,000 square foot auto service building that's intended for some quick lube oil change kind of things. The 3,200 square foot tenant that was the gas station food store combo has been shifted a bit. It's now 3,043 square feet, identified as store C on the site plan, and that they've identified as being a 7-Eleven convenience store retailer. Part of the packet, there was some elevation drawings in there on actually what that building's going to look like as well, which we wanted to get into the record and as a part of this review. And then the other piece there is the retail store in the previous approval, the 13,000 square feet, was pushed into the northwest corner of the site. It's now kind of flipping places with that other 3,200 square foot drive-through restaurant. So there's an auto B of 8,000 square feet identified. That user is yet to be determined as far as I'm aware. And then pad A is a 4,833 square foot drive-through fast food restaurant that's proposed. So that's kind of the crux of the changes. The applicant's intending to essentially relocate the water feature that was in the corner now to it would be the southwest corner of the site, next to the auto B, kind of on the corner there. We're recommending that they haven't come up with a design yet, but we're recommending that they work with city staff to come up with a design that can be somewhat of a gateway feature there and maybe incorporating some plaza elements. The other thing the original approval had, it had a small plaza area next to the retail space. So that's the gist of the changes to the site plan. The other thing I will point out, just in all the materials, you know, I kind of outlined it in the staff report, tried to make it as concise as I could, you know, and I added, there's some pages of findings because we have to address all the review criteria. Staff is recommending approval of this amendment request. We feel that it does meet all of the applicable criteria. It does as good, if not better, than the original approval did, in our opinion, my opinion. But the other thing I would want to point out is that original approval, there was a lot of talk, and before my time of being around too involved, but in digging through the record, there was quite a bit of talk about some park and ride spaces that were going to be designated within that area. We are not recommending a condition for requiring those park and ride spaces. There's a bunch of reasons, but primarily the world has changed a lot. We have a transit center across the way. Area A is all built out. Nothing was built when this master plan was originally approved. There may be some opportunity, but it might make more sense that would happen in the second phase, the area to the south of the jug handle being developed, for example. So that is one of the things that we're looking to modify and eliminate that condition altogether. The other thing that is part of this request is a major variance request. The original master plan included a major variance element, but due to some logistics, that variance approval technically expired. So they are requesting essentially the same exact variance they requested before. Again, there's findings, which the findings start on page 40 of your packet. There's findings that address those variance criteria. I would just point out that the stores all meet the minimum setback requirement. And because this property is zoned industrial business park, it actually has a larger setback requirement to streets than anything else built in Area A. So instead of a 10-foot setback requirement, which would be the standard in all of Area A basically, we have a 20-foot requirement here. The buildings all meet that. The only thing that doesn't meet it is some drive-through aisles and some trash enclosures. And the site plans kind of demonstrate the trash enclosures are, at 18 feet and more off. They almost meet the setback. They're a little shy. But the drive-through aisle is down to 15 and a half feet for the drive-through restaurant that's proposed. And the drive aisle for the quick lube service area is 10 and a half feet. So the major variance is being requested to reduce the setback just along that northern side of Eulalie down to 10 feet. And we are recommending granting that variance consistent with the original approval. Starting on page 46 of your packet is where we have our proposed conditions. And essentially what I did is I took the original conditions from the Area D approval, and we looked at those, and there was some that needed to be modified to reflect these changes. Again, of substance, there really isn't much that's a substantive change to any of the conditions, but there are a couple of highlights that I wanted to point out. Condition number 4, we added some language about the design of the water feature, that it would need to be coordinated with Community Development Department and installed as a part of the development of the site. 11 talks about a modified landscaping plan, because the original approval had a landscaping plan for the whole area, and clearly the site is shifted, parking trays are moved around, so we're going to need to see a detailed landscaping plan. Condition 14 is where we strike out the condition regarding the park and ride spaces. That repeats itself later on, because that also came through in our Public Works Department's conditions of approval, because they were the originals. And then the other thing that we wanted to acknowledge was the proposed design for the 7-Eleven convenience store. We wanted to recognize that those were submitted and they represent generally the design vernacular that is appropriate for this area. With the original approval, there was some typical elevations that were given. They weren't, like in Keizer Station Area A, the elevations were very detailed and were pretty much ready to build. In the Area D approval, it wasn't quite that detailed. And so there was some conditions written that basically said, hey, when you come in for building permits, you're going to have to meet all the design requirements. And then the other element that I wanted to point out, and this one is more of a clarifying for timing than anything else. With the original Area D approval, there were some questions as to phasing of improvements and when things would be required, specifically a traffic signal. And so one of the things with this proposal, the Public Works Department did submit comments with recommended conditions to us, clarifying that the traffic signal is needed now. And so condition number 50, we've added some language to just point that out, that the traffic signal will need to be designed, constructed, and fully functional prior to occupancy for building permits within the jug handle area. I think that, there's one other condition we just eliminated in the variance section, and that was the one that held us up because it had a 2-year window, and it's clearly more than 2 years from 2004. So we don't want that to kind of fall into being an issue. We know that there's an anxious look to build some of the site out as quickly as possible right now. But I don't believe that all the users for the internal jug handle area have been identified quite yet. So I would hate to have a time certain prevent an adopted master plan from being implemented with building permits in the future. With that, I think that pretty much sums up what those changes are that are proposed. And if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer those the best that I can.
All right, thank you very much. Questions on the staff report? Keizer Herrera.
I think you kind of answered my question on the water detention. There's been modified. Wasn't that as a detention, or is it more as a feature of?
Yeah, so the original approval called for, it was originally there as a water detention pond that was going to kind of double as a water feature, which is why when the applicant came in and said, hey, we don't really want to do water detention in this way, and I might have Bill Lawyer speak to that a little bit because I know the world of stormwater has changed some, but we basically said that's fine, but we still had a requirement that a water feature or some sort of an amenity be provided, and so that's why they're proposing to do more of a standard water feature that would be a little bit more of the interactive nature and, you know, not just be a pond of water sitting there. So.
And you answered my question on the other. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And you answered my question on the park and ride. You covered that. Thank you very much.
Other questions on the staff report? I've got a couple. One is, in the landscaping, in other development, we require 2-to-1 replacement of trees, so that is calculated in for tree cover and canopy? Okay.
Yes.
And the answer about the traffic signal, on-site stormwater, so we've got that. And then on the setbacks, that's a lot of space that kind of creates that open space, but is it really the best use of that space when you have those huge setbacks? Is there a reason other than a form of aesthetics to have that?
I mean, I think the aesthetics is definitely there. I think generally in the IBP zone, it has more to do with a lot of the users in an IBP zone may be a little different than what this is being developed, because this is being developed all under that flexible space provision. So the way the condition is written currently is we're basically saying we're granting you that variance request to allow down to a 10-foot setback. Now, it's a little bit unique in that a master plan site is a master plan site. So generally buildings need to be located in the appropriate location as shown on the site plan. Otherwise we have to come back and do more amendments. Now, I think if that was something that council wished to explore more, I think that we could probably modify a condition to give some additional flexibility. But I'm not sure if my city attorney would like that too much, as far as the buildings need to be generally where they're shown.
Well, my concern about setbacks is that you are creating space that has to be taken care of, but it's not terribly functional either in terms of access and so forth. I mean, I understand having the landscaping, trees and so forth for permeable surface, for keeping the place cool, and for the trees to do their thing. But when you have large setbacks, what it does, in my view, is it spreads everything out more, makes it feel less walkable, less compact. And I think that there's opportunities to look at our designs that utilize the limited space we have within our urban growth boundary without large setbacks, to be more cognizant of using every piece of land that we have to its maximum capacity. So that's my concern about having large setbacks in this situation.
Sure.
So I don't know if we can do some flexibility or if that conversation can come up. I don't know how interested the applicant is in that, but I'm always concerned when we're starting to talk about large swatches of land that are just going to be areas for the occupants, the owners to maintain. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just double checking with Shane. It sounds like this situation is covered because the variance that's allowed brings it down to 10 feet.
Okay.
And 10 feet is the same as it is in Area A. So essentially, although the code is different, for this site it's not, so it's the same setbacks as it would be in Area A.
Good, all right, thank you. Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My understanding is the original intent was for industrial or light industrial in that area. And for light industrial, you probably do want the setbacks. But I think with the variance that's proposed, I think we're in pretty good shape.
All right, thank you very much. Any other questions on the staff report? All right. I'm going to open it up then to the people who have signed up for the hearing. And I'm going to lead off with Mr. Mike de Blasi. And if you would just give your name and your city of residence for the record. It's good to see you, sir.
Good to see you. Should I leave this on?
Yes, please. We'll be able to hear, the TV audience will be able to hear you better, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Mike de Blasi, resident of Keizer. I'm here to speak about Area D. First, I'd like to thank you for bringing that up, Madam Mayor, about the spacing and the walkability. If I had my way, we'd open the hood up and mass the buildings like a traditional downtown, but obviously that's probably, I might be the only one who wanted to do that here. But I had a couple of suggestions that I don't know if would require, again, opening up the hood, but one was to increase the tree planting in the parking. We're going from a natural grassed field to a lot of pavement and other impervious surfaces that will hold heat and then release heat, so more trees will create less of that heat island effect. And also, the other suggestion was at the interior intersection in that jug handle where Ulali pretty much makes its crest and then comes back, putting in a roundabout that could become an amenity too, with some type of art or natural plantings or something, instead of just having a plain old intersection. So those are my suggestions.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. de Blasi? All right, thank you so much. Mr. Witham, do you want to address the tree count? Because I did ask about the 2 for 1. I know that we have, there's an understood number of trees or placement and so forth that you'll be working on?
Sure, yeah. Realistically, that's, the application materials that were submitted didn't have a detailed landscaping plan at this stage with the master plan amendment. The applicant was not proposing to stray from the original approval for landscaping. I believe it's a 20% overall landscaping requirement of the site, which is higher than most commercial uses in town. It's normally a 10% in town, but because of the zoning, there's actually a higher landscaping requirement there. And that's frankly why we want to have the condition that a final landscaping plan be submitted. The development code has been, we've written and we've modified it not too long ago to actually increase planting capacities in parking lots, and we have some specificity for trees getting to certain sizes to help with some of that heat islanding effect that Mr. Blasi spoke to. Again, we're not proposing that we would hold the applicant to a higher standard than that's been established by the previous master plan approval or by the development code itself, being that this is just a simple amendment to what was previously approved. I think to do that, we would need to probably tweak some findings fairly significantly. So yeah, I guess that's what I can say to it.
That answers my question, but it's also an opportunity as the applicant works with you to find the optimal use of the placement of trees for shade, temperature control and so forth, as well as aesthetics. Yeah. So I appreciate that. Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Witham, I was pleased to see that there was a requirement for a tree for every so many parking spaces, which I thought was very forward-thinking. I appreciated that.
I know in the summer I'm always looking for the one in the shade when I'm coming someplace. All right. And the other thing you mentioned, and it's no secret, I'm a big fan of roundabouts because they are safe. They don't cause you to have to come to a full and complete stop. They reduce crashes. They keep the flow going. Just it has benefits all the way around. I'm not sure that the site plan is sufficient for the size necessary, but I would encourage a conversation, and I think that's all we can probably do at this point because I know how it's designed, but if it's an opportunity that could be a win-win, I would encourage that conversation to happen. Yes, Mr. Lawyer.
If I may, Madam Mayor, thank you. My recommendation is not a traffic circle or a roundabout in that location, because already we see traffic backed up, waiting for the light to get onto Shamala Road. Roundabout's going to complicate that. People trying to leave this development site, the site to the south, people packed into that roundabout. I think it's not functional in this site.
I forgot about the, as it comes out onto Shamala/Lock Haven there. Speaking of which, and it's a topic for another day, will be the receiving lane on eastbound to southbound I-5 that is still awaiting being done. Maybe relieve some of that.
I continue to wait.
We all do. And that's in ODOT's court. All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Alan Roothouse, please come on down. It's good to see you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Stacia, come on.
And if you would just state your name and your city of residence for the record.
Alan Roothouse, President of RPS Development Company.
Hi, I'm Stacia Hernandez, Chief of Staff for the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, and we have Dan McHugh as well from the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians.
And we're happy to answer any questions you have of us. I think Shane did a great job. We have nothing to add.
All right. Well, thank you. I'm so glad to have representation from both tribal nations here today. You honor us with your presence, and we're happy to be a partner in you realizing this long sought after opportunity for you to work together. So thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Roothouse or our tribal representatives? Not at this time. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak to the hearing, speak to this issue on the Keizer Station Area D? All right, Council, do you have any other questions before I close the public hearing? All right, the public hearing is now closed. Council President Freeman.
I move that the Keizer City Council direct staff to prepare an order adopting the proposed Area D Master Plan Amendment and Major Variance Approval.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council direct staff to prepare an order. I don't have the right page here, my bad.
Don't mind?
Yeah, what page are you on?
Okay.
Thank you. Direct staff to prepare an order adopting the proposed Area D Master Plan Amendment and Major Variance Approval. Any further discussion? Oh, I got the second, yes? Yes. Councilor Herrera? Okay.
Yes, he did.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously with 2 absent. Thank you all very much. That takes us to item 7B, a resolution exemption of the brand name specification purchase of Surface America Fall Protection product from competitive bidding and purchasing play structure materials, Structure America Fall Protection Materials, and installation services from Ross Recreation Equipment Company, Inc. for Claggett Creek Park. The public hearing is now open. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Attorney.
Thank you, Chris, Madam Mayor, and Council. This matter is before you for public hearing for exemption of the brand name specification and also the purchase of materials and services to put in new play structure and play surface at Claggett Creek Park. This is very similar, if you might remember, to the Meadows Park. Same materials, same companies. Because of the nature of it, it requires a public hearing to exempt the brand name and also exempt the actual purchase. I've attached a resolution to do so. The recommendation is to take any testimony, and if there are no questions, close the public hearing and adopt the attached resolution. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions on the staff report? All right, seeing none. I have nobody signed up to testify for the public hearing. Is there anybody who would like to address the council on this matter? The floor is open. Okay, don't rush your nose. All right, thank you so much. Council, are there any further questions before I close the public hearing? Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a clarification, we're going to use this particular contractor because they produce something that a lot of other people don't. Is that part of the
Right.
reasoning there?
I don't know, Bill, if you can explain this a little better than I can.
The driving force behind this is mainly the surfacing materials, Surface America product. There's only a couple companies in the nation that make this kind of material. We've used Surface America products. We're satisfied with them. And so that's driving the exemption. The Surface America product is distributed through Ross Recreation, and the installers, while they'll do work on their own, work, I'll say not for Ross Recreation, but subcontract to them. So put the whole package together, provide the equipment, provide the servicing, and install everything. But the main thing is the driver is the servicing product itself.
Perfect. Thank you. That was my understanding. I just wanted to clarify it.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any further questions before we close the public hearing? Hearing none, public hearing is now closed. Council President Freeman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2020, exemption of the brand name specification purchase of Surface America Fall Protection product from competitive bidding and purchasing play structure materials, Surface America Fall Protection materials, and installation services from Ross Recreation Equipment Company, Inc. for Claggett Creek Park.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2020, exemption of the brand name specification purchase of Surface America Fall Protection product from competitive bidding and purchasing play structure materials, Surface America Fall Protection materials, and installation services from Ross Recreation Equipment Company, Inc. for Claggett Creek Park. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously with 2 absent. That concludes our public hearings for this evening, so let's go on to item 8A under administrative action. This is a resolution placing on the ballot the question of adoption of a new home rule charter that replaces the current charter and authorizing filing of explanatory statement relating to adoption. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you, Chris, Madam Mayor, and Council. Well, we finally got here. So thanks to all the folks, Councilor Smith and Councilor Freeman, and all the folks on the Charter Review Committee. This is the official ballot title and also explanatory statement. I've also attached, so there's no confusion at all, the final version of the charters. That resolution attached all 3 of those documents. So now is the time to go ahead, if there's no further questions, to adopt the resolution. This places the matter on the ballot for November 3rd election. And with that, I'd be happy to answer your questions.
All right, any questions on the staff report? Here we are. Fabulous. Okay, no questions. Council President Freeman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm happy to move that adopt the Keizer City Council to Resolution R 2020, placing on the ballot the question of adoption of a new home rule charter that replaces the current charter and authorizing filing of explanatory statement relating to the adoption.
And I'm happy to second that.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2020, placing on the ballot the question of adoption of a new home rule charter that replaces the current charter and authorizing filing of explanatory statement relating to the adoption. Any further discussion? Councilor Kohler.
Just a quick comment. I'm just thrilled to see this. It's been a long time coming. It just really thrills me. Thank you.
Thank you. I would concur. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously with 2 absent. So going forward from here, once this is heading toward the ballot, that kind of changes the relationship for staff because it will be an item going to the ballot. So staff is allowed to speak on an explanatory basis.
Facts only.
Facts only. And it's up to us as counselors. We don't have that caveat because, with our big paycheck, lots of zeros, no ones, we can speak to this, and So I think it would behoove us as council to consider how we would like to move forward and putting together messaging that would be appropriate to explain to the people of the city of Keizer, along with the team members that put this together, and let people know why this is important. So that's going to be a conversation for us to have very, very quickly. And I'll be looking for a couple of counselors that want to take the lead on the messaging and outreach.
Of course.
Counselor Smith?
I would be happy to.
I figured.
I thought I was given.
I was like, poke him.
It has to be said. So Counselors Smith and Herrera, I will look to you to take the lead. We will all be involved actively, I can presume, because of our activity in this, but it's important when we have a go-to who's going to be doing that. And again, remembering the role of council separate from the role of staff. All right, moving forward. Thank you very much. Item 8B. An ordinance amending the Keizer Development Code regarding sections 3.106 property line adjustment, section 3.107 partitions, and section 3.108 subdivisions, planned unit developments, and manufactured home parks, amending 98-389. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you, Chris, Madam Mayor and Council. This matter is back before Council after public hearing. You might remember this is the amendment to the Keizer Development Code with regard to the timing and allowances for extensions for partitions, lot line adjustments, and subdivisions. And so we prepared that ordinance at your direction. It's here for adoption, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions? Council President Freeman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Keizer City Council adopt a bill for an ordinance amending Keizer Development Code regarding section 3.106 property line adjustment, section 3.107 partitions, and section 3.108 subdivisions, planned unit developments, and manufactured home parks, amending ordinance 98-389.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt a bill for an ordinance 2020, amending Keizer Development Code regarding section 3.106 property line adjustment, section 3.107 partitions, and section 3.108 subdivisions, planned unit developments, and manufactured home parks, amending ordinance 98-389. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously with 2 absent. That takes us to item 8C, a resolution authorizing Finances Director to sign State of Oregon Grant Agreement, grant number 1079, CARES Act funds. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City Attorney.
Thank you, Chris, Madam Mayor and Council. This is some CARES Act funding. This is the original proposal on this, increased quite a bit. It was $17,000. It's now, or more or less, it was an exact amount. Now it's increased to $1,151,914.13 because the state does not like round numbers. This is not likely to all be spent given the restrictions that we have. And if you have questions, you might want to talk to Chris or Tim on that part of it. But that is what the grant amount is for. And it's also going to be used in connection with the next agenda item, which I will explain when we get to that. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions on this grant? So this is the one that we will use for reimbursement of expenditures.
For the next agenda item.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Very good.
Just to kind of
yes.
throw a little bit
City Manager.
more information out on there. So this is an allocation the state is providing to all cities based on a population formula. So they had a certain amount of money to get out into the communities, and based on population, they're simply making a direct allotment to each city. So a lot of strings attached, but we now have funding to try to get some things accomplished out in the community. So.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes, excuse me, Madam Mayor. The other thing I wanted to mention, I think it is in the staff report, but it's in the document. It is a reimbursement grant. We have to spend the money first. So that, of course, is an issue that we would need to be very cognizant of.
Right.
Yeah, I know for some of the smaller jurisdictions, that's been part of the conversation they've had on the state level on how to help some of the smaller cities that don't have that cash even to spend up front. But I think that we're in a space where we're probably able to take care of our needs on a pretty regular basis. I'm seeing Mr. Wood nod his head that yes, we are in that that's more stable space.
That is correct, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Herrera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Epley,
Yes, sir.
you said a lot of strings attached.
There are just a lot of federal guidelines that you have to walk through. There's a whole list of things that the federal government is attempting to accomplish with the CARES funding. It has to be for COVID-related issues. It can't be direct replacement of salaries or expenses associated with time, those kinds of things. So you just have to walk through the hoops. So.
Thank you.
So can I?
Remember?
Yeah. Council President Freeman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So Chris, so none of the CARES funding at this time can be paid for any like overtime or anything specifically, like if you guys had staff meetings for COVID or anything like that?
Not to my understanding, no. Replacement of salary is not an applicable item that can be reimbursed.
Okay. So this would be items like our plexiglass or
Right.
whatever our nice shields are that are in front of our customer service.
Right. We're looking at making that more permanent through a remodel of the front, and that kind of thing would be covered. We're going to back our grant so that we can get more money to the businesses out into the community, and use this as match against the business organ grant. We may be able to create additional grant opportunities for our business community. So those kinds of things, but we simply can't replace lost revenue, or I guess we can replace certain salaries, I think associated with policing, but we can't replace any revenues lost like for the community center or whatnot with this funding.
Okay. I was just curious if it was direct staff time related to COVID activities, whether that's.
Perhaps, I may have misspoke there. So
Okay.
we'll have to re-look through that, but.
Okay.
Mr.
Perfect.
Wood.
If someone's daily activities get converted to primarily doing COVID-related type of event stuff, then yes, we could get some reimbursement for that. We also can get some reimbursements for people who are out on COVID-related time off if they've been exposed, or they're taking care of others who have been exposed. So those are some of the things that we're looking at as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know these are complex, and there's been a lot of guidance. I think League of Oregon Cities has worked hard as well to help figure out and do all that reading in the fine print. So.
Yeah. The point being, don't get super excited. 1.1 million sounds like a lot of money, but by the time you go through exactly what you can use it for, it will likely be less than that we're able to actually spend. So.
But it's a lot more than $50,000.
It is a lot more than that, yes.
Yeah. Mr. Wood.
Probably the biggest string attached to it is we have to spend it by December 30th. So that's going to be a challenge. That's a lot of hand sanitizer we're going to be looking for.
Yeah, PPE and all that is all eligible, for example. Okay.
And we've talked about possibly partnering with some of our social service organizations in the area, and seeing if we can back them in some of their efforts, also outreach into the community. So, we're going to do our very best to make this benefit the community.
Thank you.
Sounds like a good opportunity. And I know that the partnerships across the board with our business community, our nonprofits, faith community, have really what has pulled our Keizer community through this thus far, and I believe will continue to pull us through into the future. So thank you.
Did you have something, Roland? No.
Councilor? Okay. All right, Council President Freeman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2020, authorizing Finance Director to sign State of Oregon Grant Agreement, Grant Number 1079, CARES Act funds.
Second it?
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council pass Resolution R 2020, authorizing Finance Director to sign State of Oregon Grant Agreement, Grant Number 1079, CARES Act funds. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously, 2 absent. Item 8D, a resolution authorizing city manager to sign COVID-19 Emergency Business Assistance Program Forgivable Loan Agreement. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you, Chris, Madam Mayor, and Council. This is the other agenda item with regard to the Business Oregon grant. You might have remembered from probably close to a couple months ago. And I'll just give you the short version. You can see the information in your packet. Pretty frustrating series of events that I spent a long time on, and Shane spent even longer on. Business Oregon told us verbally that we would be able to use our first program for $45,000 for match, but the agreement did not match up with that. So we were at an impasse on that new grant because they said they couldn't change the agreement at all. However, due to the new increase in the other agenda item, we'll be able to use those funds as matching funds, and so we won't use that first program. So just when we were kind of about to give up on that, then this other funding came through. So we'll be able to use that as our $45,000 grant. So we'll have a grant program totaling $90,000. It will be a bit different than the other one we ran earlier in the spring, but the forms are all required as part of the program. So we're looking forward to moving that program forward. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? So have we talked about how much the different grant amounts would be, or is that something that we're going to come back and have a conversation about?
That is dictated by the state pretty much. There's a little latitude there, but and I'm sorry I didn't think to provide those details for you that on how those work, and I don't remember any of them. It's been too long.
I don't remember the numbers exactly off the top of my head, but there's basically a sliding scale that the state created. It's if you're a business with 0 to 5 employees, you get $5,000. If it's 5 to 10, it's $10,000. So there's basically with the program through Business Oregon, and that was one of the other sticking points, as our old program was just the flat $2,500 grants, and it didn't quite line up. So the new program that we stand up will have to adhere to their exact kind of chart, which is based on the number of employees or based on revenues lost that can be demonstrated through proper accounting protocols.
And I know that this grant is also, the CARES Act, or the Business Oregon grants are also geared toward minority-owned businesses, so getting into that community as well. So that we'll be targeting those folks, trying to get them to engage and get some money out there.
So Councilor Freeman found on page 169 of the packet for people following at home, and here the grant award amounts as based on the number of employees.
Right.
From 0 to 5, 6 to 10. So page 169, 170 of the packet. Yes, Councilor Herrera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Is there like is there like a criteria for family-owned businesses that are like less than maybe just the family employees? Is there room for them? Are they qualified?
Right. In our original grant, we did not allow home occupations to be part of that, and I believe that this one does.
I guess that's exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah, the Business Oregon program, they're targeting, their goal is to get at least 50% of the grant awards for sole proprietors. So it is really targeted for the small businesses. I don't think it's an outright requirement, but I know that was one of the things when we were going back and forth with the Business Oregon folks. I tried to collect demographic information and information on I think it was 18 businesses that we gave money to previously. And I almost got a hold of everybody, but didn't quite get everybody connected. But so yeah, this program, we will actually target sole proprietors. We're going to do some marketing specifically toward, and the state has a term, historically disadvantaged business owners. So we will do marketing that goes out and allows some additional time out there to get the word out. And then we'll have to kind of figure out exactly how applications will come in. So I don't know if it'll be everybody applies all at the same time, or we may have a window of, hey, these businesses will apply in this window of time, and then if there's money left over, then more money can go out to additional businesses.
If I may.
Counselor?
And so how would you do an outreach to, say, a Latino business that's not Spanish-speaking primarily? How would you outreach to those folks?
Sure, and that, so, when we first heard about the program, we did identify some different groups, the Latino Business Alliance, I believe. I talked with the chamber to talk about if they could help with some of that outreach. The one thing that's really nice is Business Oregon actually has produced all application materials in multiple language, Spanish, Russian, there was another one that I thought was interesting. But so it's all of the different application materials will be put out in multiple languages. And actually, Councilor Herrera, I may be talking with you about some ideas on how we might be able to get the word out.
I have some.
That's great, because that is something that essentially when we applied for the grant, Nate had identified, hey, and I think there's a list of 5 or 6 different organizations that we had identified, and I'm sorry, I don't remember them all off the top of my head, but definitely now that we're actually able to move forward with the program, I'm going to be in a bit of a time crunch to get boots on the ground and figure out the best way we can get the word out.
If I may?
Yes.
At one time, I had a list of the Latino businesses.
Okay.
Now, might be outdated, but, and also the term disadvantaged, it's more like, I like to underserved, because, the connotation, but.
I absolutely agree.
Exactly, the point that I was making was one that you covered well, and I would be happy to help in any ways. I'm talking about reaching out to other, not only ALSC, but other groups that would know where those businesses are.
No, that absolutely would be helpful.
Okay, and there's a gentleman in town, RJ Navarro, that actually has a roster of the current businesses. He's doing some work with them right now, so I appreciate that. That's good. Reach out, call me. I'll help.
I'll be sending you an email tomorrow.
One other one, and I'll turn it over to Council President Freeman, is COBID, the Certification Office for Business, BID. I can't remember what the entire acronym stands for, so my bad. Anyway, COBID is through Business Oregon, and that's where disadvantaged business enterprises do register with the state. It makes them eligible for state contracting and other contracting opportunities, and it does sort out by address. So it's a really, really robust and easy database to use, and any businesses that aren't registered there, we can encourage them to do that as well at the same time, which will make them more eligible for additional opportunity. So, and I'll remember what that acronym stands for here in a minute. I'll turn it over to Council President Freeman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This question's for Chris. So in our first grant notification, did we receive any feedback back from individuals or businesses whom didn't receive it or wish they would have received? I mean, did we get any kind of feedback that may help us in this time with some focused outreach versus targeted? Sorry, because targeted has such a different.
Right.
And so if there was some more focused, and I'm just curious if we received any feedback from our first grant application. And
I don't know of any specific feedback we received back. We got that put together and got out into the community so quickly.
True.
And we were able to give grants to almost all of the applicants who applied. I think there were only 2 or 3 who did not receive a grant, and at least 2 of those were deemed not qualified based on our rules. So, or one or 2, I don't remember. Anyway, so we didn't have a large group of businesses that didn't receive a grant to get feedback from. The feedback that I received from those businesses that did get grants were that they were incredibly appreciative of what we did and that it helped. So.
Thank you. Follow up, please. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, and then in our part of our outreach, are we reaching out to our faith communities as well?
We will, absolutely. That's an excellent place to go to try to, reach those historically underserved communities.
Well, and a lot of times, our faith community knows their, members, and a lot of them, if they are, especially like Councilor Herrera, small, very family-owned businesses. Right. And so I was just trying to think of, as many different ways to reach out to as many people as possible in a cost-effective way, obviously, right? So, thank you.
And COVID is a certification office for business inclusion and diversity. So that is the federally recognized agency for determining whether a company or a business is a DBE, disadvantaged business enterprise. And that has a certain meaning when you're doing contracting, especially when you're doing federal contracting, which is, in my day job, part of what I do. So, okay. All right. Any other discussion on item D? Council President Freeman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2020 authorizing the city manager to sign COVID-19 Emergency Business Assistance Program Forgivable Loan Agreement.
Second that?
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2020 authorizing city manager to sign COVID-19 Emergency Business Assistance Program Forgivable Loan Agreement. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously, 2 absent. That takes us to item 9, the consent calendar. Council President Freeman, would you please read the item on tonight's consent calendar?
Sure, thank you, Madam Mayor. We have 4 items on the consent calendar tonight. Items 9A is a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign amicus attorney agreement. That's too many A's in there. Resolution 9B, authorizing the finance director to enter into an agreement with CenturyLink for internet services. Items 9C is approval of July 13, 2020 City Council work session minutes. 9D is approval of July 20, 2020 City Council regular session minutes.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any polls?
Just a clarification, you said authorizing city manager, city attorney to sign the resolution.
Yeah, it says city attorney to sign attorney agreement.
Could you read it?
City manager?
City manager.
Excuse me. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know what I can do, Chief. Thank you.
All right, any polls? Council President Freeman.
I move that the Keizer City Council approve the consent calendars, items 9A, B, C, D.
I'll second that.
The consent calendar has been moved and seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously, 2 absent. Okay, council liaison reports. You guys switch places. I can't pick on one of you, so I'll go to Councilor Smith.
So fun. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple things that I wanted to bring up tonight. One would be that there has been several pleas on social media from the Keizer Food Bank. They are still short, and we need to make sure that we're taking care of them. So if you do have, available funds or extra food, and you just pick up a box of cereal, peanut butter, anything like that, I think they would greatly appreciate it. We need to remember not everybody's back on their feet right now and still facing some losses from, work loss and COVID and such. The other thing I wanted to just notate was a thank you to Mr. Lawyer for explaining about the striping on the streets. I got tagged in a lot of posts about the striping, and I think it looks good. It looks a lot brighter. And I'm very sure that come summertime, when the overspray has worn off, because it wears off over time, you're going to love the fact that you can actually see the reflective lines, because that was a little rough there for a minute.
Difference.
Yeah, it'd be a lot better than what it was. And if anybody remembers, back when it was dark and raining, there was a problem with the machine, and the, I don't know, better word for it, glitter stuff did not actually stay at the right level, and it got buried into the ground. So we did not have that. So thank you to the Public Works Department for working with getting the paving, all of that done. Looks really good. It seems like that went a lot faster than the first time, and it was a little bit more efficient. So thank you for that. That being said, I've noticed something on newly paved streets. Feels like everybody's really driving fast. So please make note that just because the street's paved does not mean that you just gun it. Please keep it within a safe speed limit. I'm sure that the chief would attest to that. So just kind of slow down a little bit. And I just personally want to thank everyone for all the work done on the city charter. I'm very excited to get working on the the marketing plan for it is the best word with Councilor Herrera. I'm really excited that we get to do this together. So I'm looking forward to talking about that, and thank you for that opportunity. And thanks for everyone, unanimously passing that. That's a pretty epic moment in my book. So thank you. That's all I got.
All right, thank you. Council President Freeman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would echo the paving, just thank you for patience of everyone on River Road. And then the shoreline project, I know that I'm sure all the neighbors are glad that all of those machines are gone, but it does look really, really nice. So just thank you to all the neighbors who happen to live in that neighborhood. I guess a little pain and noise is worth it when it's all done, right? Upcoming, we have the Planning Commission on the 12th here at 6 p.m. Marion County Commissioners Breakfast is on the 13th, and it's Mayor Clark, Councilor Reed, and myself attending.
I will need a substitute.
Okay.
I will be in transit, so if somebody else can do that, if you want to check with the rest of the council for a substitute. Thank you.
I can do that. And then we all know it's really warm outside, and for some of us who love the heat, I do. But, just check on your neighbors and, watch your pets. And last time I said that, someone goes, watch your kids in the car. And so that's probably the last thing on my mind because, I'm not going to leave my kid in my car. But it does happen. And so, just really be attentive to that. And I will echo Councilor Smith on my way home. Faith Lutheran Church, which is Monday night, is where they hand out food boxes. There was probably at least 12 cars in line and more cars coming in. So I would echo the sentiment that if there's ways to donate cash, or I'm sure they're greatly appreciative as well as everyone that's in line who is needing food assistance during this time. And then I have shared in the past that our local community action agency does have rent assistance funds available and energy assistance funds, and there are income eligibilities, but check on that if you're someone who potentially may need some assistance there. And one item that seems to get forgotten, and I know we have several manufactured home parks here in Keizer, but those funds also are able to cover your rent of your manufactured home as long as you are a renter and your space rent. So a lot of times there's not always a lot of funding for that, but the rent assistance funds do cover that. So contact our community action agency. Thank you.
Very good to know. Thank you. Councilor Herrera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On July 22nd, I participated in a LULAC virtual panel, which was actually throughout the whole country, which was interesting. And the subject matter was the Latinx community and how this COVID has affected us disproportionately. And that was very interesting. I also did the BIPOC community gathering with Teresa Alonso, representative, and along with local public health official authorities. It explained some of the methodology for the contact tracing, which was very interesting. There's actually classes on contact tracing at Portland State. And well attended. We heard from County Commissioner Cameron and other county commissioners. Very good participation there. I also participated in the Equity Lens Subcommittee. We were trying to fill our Equity Lens Committee is made up of non people of color right now, and one lady. So we're trying to change that around to where people of color are part of that. And I've been working with Councilor Evans from Eugene, as well as Teresa Alonso, which is she's wearing her consultant hat for that. So we're glad to move that forward with different people of color. And while I'm on it, I'm gonna a shout out to Councilor David Imami, who is the first Iranian American councilor in Oregon, and he's not running for re-election. So they had a nice write-up on him in the paper, Portland paper. I want to also shout out to Herschel Sangster and all the bike people for them doing that bike repair thing on August 7th and August 21st over at not the church on the hill, the church on the north side of Little League Field. So that's a clarification by somebody. Thank you very much for that clarification. And that helps a lot with bike repairs. And they also, I believe they give helmets, don't they? They do the helmet thing? So,
Just a donation.
I'm sorry?
$5
Yeah, that is incredible. And Hirsch has been incredible. With my work in Kennedy, he has been very helpful with a lot of those folks that can't afford helmets. And our club actually bought a bunch of helmets back a few years ago from Hirsch. Also wanted to mention that I did talk to, this chief might want to hear this one, the letter that we talked about defunding police. And I just wanted to assure Mr. Hens, I actually called him and talked to him in person. And I told him about our relationship with our local law enforcement. And I did, we discussed about, this whole thing about defunding police it's nobody's got to defund nothing. We're going to evaluate, we'll look at it. And I told him how it works in Keizer. And I told him how the budget's already been done and the whole thing. In fact, I mirrored some of your conversation, Mayor. But I just want folks to know that nobody's defunding anything. I mean, if anything, we'll look at the stuff, and try to make things better, improve. But rest assured, our police department will always be there. So he was very happy to hear that. He was actually glad that I called him. He thought it was kind of interesting. The last thing I had was, where is this? Oh, gosh darn it. Oh, yeah. I wanted to compliment our Parks Department. They've been working hard to repair there've been multiple accidents on the path that has that huge 4-inch lip. And they went in there and they did an incredible job. I don't know, they have their seasonal workers now, so they have more help. And they did a really good job on that park, and they're reseeding, they're moving, they put some fill dirt. So that path is now, at least the north side of it is now repaired. Although there's some problems on the south side, but like I told them, one thing at a time. And in my neighborhood, because we live right in front of Country Glen, they all come to my house and say, when it's park? But anyway, they're real happy that one thing at a time we're doing it. And kudos to Rob Johnson. And our mower out there by the name of Franklin, I shout out to him because our whole neighborhood loves that guy. He's just a great guy. No, really, he's a good guy, and he'll stop and talk to the guys. And, I think that's great that you, as a city worker, you can go out and talk to your neighbors and tell them, have a relationship with them. So Franklin is really good. He's a great mower, and he's just a good guy. So, Robert, you thank him for that from us, from our neighborhood. That's all I have for now. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. And so, folks taking notes, the bike helmet and bike repair is at the Keizer Church of Christ, and the next one is going to be on the 21st of August.
From 2 till 4.
2 to 4 in the afternoon. So come on down, bike helmets. And I know that bicycle sales across the country, went sky high when vacations got canceled. I mean, what could be more socially distanced than fresh air?
Right.
Ride your bike.
Try to go to a river right now.
Well, around here, make sure you have your life jacket. The water is still really cold. Indeed. Councilor Kohler, good to see you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a few things. On the 21st, I attended with the mayor the ribbon cutting ceremony for Wicked Sweet Bakery. And it looks like we've got another sweet place to go here in Keizer. It was good and a lot of fun. On the 24th, I took part of the LOC call. Talked with the governor's office and they talked a little bit about schools and some of the things that they were thinking about doing and said they're up over to 350,000 tests now, and that 26% increase from the week before. But I thought it was interesting that I said, so what does all this really do to us? And they said, well, I can tell you a lot about nothing. I thought, wow, that's interesting, because sometimes the OHA and the governor's office, they give a lot of statistics and things, but they don't necessarily tell you what else is happening, and that's the hard part. To know who to listen to and what to do, that's really a hard thing. And they've got a pretty tough job. And they're working hard, but I appreciate the LOC and all the work that they're doing with that. And I heard a radio ad saying that the Keizer City Council has received hundreds of calls to defund the police. So this is absolute bunk. I haven't received any calls to defund the police. I have received, respond from that ad. I've gotten a few people that have just said, hey, we're here to support the police. And we're very proud of what our Keizer police are doing for us. Thank you. And just to put on the record, as I visited with my family, we discussed some of the impacts of the school announcements by Governor Brown. I'm very saddened at the amount of stress this is having on families. The impact on kids and teachers is real. And on so many levels and ways, the inability to plan for this year, next year, and beyond is mind-boggling. The inability to know what will happen with and for our kids is causing mountains of anxiety, stress, and uncertainty. And whatever your opinion is on the matter, the impact is going to be felt. Be patient with people, practice kindness and understanding and love. I pray for teachers, parents, and the kids. It may not be easy, however, we will do this. We'll get through it. I was recently doing some study regarding Abraham Lincoln, and it was right at his administration time that we developed a national motto. And I didn't realize that that's when our national motto was really put together, but our national motto is, "In God we trust." And during times like this, that's really what we have to do. We have to trust God and push forward to the best of our abilities. So, on the 13th, I'm looking forward to the Traffic Safety Bike Ped Committee meeting. The 13th also is, there's other people that are assigned to go to the Latino Business Alliance meeting. So if it may be possible that I can go to the County Commissioners Breakfast if they don't cancel it again. So that's something we can talk about.
All right.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I have already from Councilor Parsons, she will attend in the mayor's absence for Marion County Commissioner Breakfast, so we have it covered.
Oh, okay.
I thought she was going to go to the LBA that morning.
Well, she texted me, so maybe she's swapping meetings, but she said, I'm on it, so she probably forgot she was attending that one, so we'll have to figure that one out.
We can talk.
I'll go to that one for her.
Paper, scissors. Yeah, the LBA has not met since March, I don't believe. Latino Business Alliance, and I know that is something that's been greatly missed because I love going to those meetings and meeting with folks and connecting. So I'm hoping they can get back underway as soon as
I do have a couple of people that I've had contact, Ismail and some of the other folks there with the LBA that are looking to become members of the LBA. So I've had some outreach with some of those folks too. It's been fun, been good.
Very good. All right, thank you. I just have a couple of things to add. So I've been on the phone calls with the Economic Recovery Team for our region and discussions with the Oregon Health Authority. So I've been trying to monitor that to know what is going to impact our businesses, schools, the health data that's coming out for our region in particular. And one area I pushed very, very hard was the resurgence of the messaging from the governor's office regarding what I believe, this is my opinion and I'll stick to it, a misguided statement that if you go out and you might accidentally kill someone. When I got word of that billboard, I made it very clear to the governor's team, and I also sent an email to Regional Solutions that the stress level that Councilor Kohler is referring to is already high enough, and that we need to be encouraging each other that the things we are doing are working. The hand washing, the face covering, social distancing, taking care of our families, looking after our seniors. These things are successful and they are keeping people safe. And continue to encourage us in the things that are working, that we are having success while we navigate yet again another change for a lot of our families as they try to figure out how they're going to do education through a variety of means. We really need positivity in that, and I strongly, very strongly encourage them to message the way we are here in Marion County. We are finding the things that are working and we are promoting them heavily. So I would encourage them to move forward with that. I want to thank Alex and Cherish at Mommy and Maddie's for letting us use their outdoor lawn area for this month's Coffee with Kathy. It was BYOC, bring your own chair. And we sat outside under the trees, socially distanced, had a lovely conversation. Also want to thank David Daly for helping film and broadcast the video portion of that with Transit Director Colleen Bush, Board of Directors for the Keizer Fire District, Betty Hart, and Chamber President Jonathan Thompson. So these monthly updates, I hope, are helping people stay in tune with what's going on in our community and what's working. The Keizer Community Food Bank was mentioned a few times. I also had a conversation with Rick Galpo from the Marion Polk Food Share. Their provision of food to the food bank, the Keizer Community Food Bank, is up 150%, and they are working very hard to provide food for that food bank, also through St. Edward's Church and Keizer Elementary School. So we have 3 distribution points here for food boxes here in Keizer, and our community is so generous, and you've been so consistent, and you've been working so hard to make sure that everybody is going to be able to get the food they need. So that will be one thing they don't have to worry about. So way to go, Keizer. Let's keep it up. On the 27th, we had a personnel policy meeting, which was lengthy as when we were talking earlier about staff time on COVID-related, HR was probably like, that's most of what they're doing right now. And then the other stuff, other duties as assigned, like life, kind of piles on top of that. So it has been very all-consuming for human resources. I attended the virtual Oregon Business Plan Leadership Workshop, and these are available to all of us to be able to log in. These are webinars. So doing a series of them through the Business Oregon, and I highly recommend tuning into those. I do have some notes that I haven't shared yet in my mayor's update, and I will get that out to you. But really talked about the impact on business, how communities are reorganizing to bring business and work, broadband alternatives together, and then planning for a future. There's another series, there's going to be some more coming up this year, so watch for those in your inbox, in your email. On the 28th was SCATS, the Salem-Keizer Area Transportation Study, our metropolitan planning organization. The discussion centered around our upcoming STIP, the Statewide Transportation Improvement Plan, federal funding, the Department of Land Conservation and Development, and some of their strategic planning and how that impacts with transportation, and the opinion from our MPO that a rush on rulemaking is probably not something that is well advised. So from us to them, it was, we're concentrating on COVID and everything else. Can we take a pause on the rulemaking until we can get our heads wrapped around the more urgent matters at hand? So that was then. Coming up, tomorrow we have the Executive Committee for the Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Alliance. I love those meetings because every time I hear about good stuff happening as we're taking care of people in our community. The Alliance Board will meet in full on the 13th, and that's when we will work to establish the permanent ORS 190, which is going to be a part of the Alliance. The Mid-Willamette Valley Area Commission on Transportation is going to meet on Thursday, and on Thursday and Friday is the Oregon Mayors Association virtual conference. So I'll be zooming in and out of that, pun intended. And I've got Commissioner's Breakfast, and that on the 26th, I know this is kind of way out there, but the NAACP will have their next in a series of community conversations. And I'm looking forward to participating in that, the Salem area NAACP. Highly recommend folks watching for that to pop up in your inbox. So that is what keeps me constructively occupied when I'm not working. Okay, written communications, I have several on 3 different topics. One is continued communications regarding fireworks. And I even called Friday night because somebody shot them off at Delight and Churchdale area. And we were outside enjoying a quiet dinner on the patio, and then it wasn't so quiet. So I called it in. So we'll keep on getting after them. Thank you, Chief, for your recommended language. I'm working on bringing that together, and I'm going to look for some help with that because I'm a little overloaded right now to help push that to legislation. Anyway, I really appreciate people reaching out to us and all of you letting people know, yes, please do respond. And City Manager, you mentioned in one of the emails about helping put together some messaging that we could be able to push out on our Facebook page, and then we could share with folks on that. Please do report, please do call it in on the non-emergency line, unless it started a fire, and then please, by all means, do call 911. And if you could help us with that, get the PSAs out on our Facebook and other media, and also on our website. This is continuing. This is August 1st, the 2nd, 3rd, and they're still shooting them off in the neighborhoods. My dog has had it, and quite frankly, so have I. So, second topic. It was already mentioned about we're not defunding the police, so I will put that there. Thank you all for continuing to get the message out. Know that I haven't gotten a single phone call on defunding. I've gotten people asking, you aren't serious about that? I'm like, well, no, we passed the budget. You know, we're good to go. There was a great deal of talk on social media, but more importantly, in communication regarding the fatal crash at Quinnipiac and River Road. So this is a known dangerous spot where there have been fatal crashes before, and there was discussion about us writing a letter to Marion County, encouraging them to look at solutions, both short-term and long-term, for making that a safer intersection. We know that it's got some serious line of sight issues, it's got some serious alignment issues, and we want to encourage Marion County to take action sooner than later on safety measures now, but also put this into the queue for them to make any long-term changes. We have an area commission meeting on Thursday, so that's a pretty quick turnaround. And with council's indulgence, I would like to write a letter and take that to the Area Commission on Transportation and give it to the commissioners at that meeting to encourage them to take action on that intersection.
Consensus.
All right, I'm getting a thumbs up, a nod from everybody. I will do so, and I'll take that with me on Thursday. Virtually, we're Zooming. So I will move forward with that. Okay, so those are the 3 areas of written communications that I've received. All right, and I did skip, so I'm going to go back to other business. This time is provided to allow the mayor, city council members, or staff an opportunity to bring new or old matters before the council that are not on tonight's agenda. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tracy? Shane?
I think I've talked enough. I'm good.
I think you have also. Mr. Wood?
I have nothing to add either.
Okay. Bill?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Chief Teague? Nothing for me. Council, anything for any of the department directors? Madam Mayor?
Yes, I do. Mr. Lawyer, I sent you an email with probably not a very good picture of the intersection at Dearborn and Delight. It's on the south side, where the school district is tying in, where you come off the street and then come around to the sidewalk. It is a very odd configuration, and I've almost tripped. I've seen other people almost trip and fall. It's a very strange way of doing that path. They kind of put a curve into it and a drop off, which is to me an ankle breaker. Any conversation that can happen on making that wider and flatter, please?
Certainly. I actually looked at their permit today, looked at the plans they submitted with their sidewalk permit for that. We just did a sidewalk permit for the ADA ramp on the corner, and the pathway was included in that. Discovered the plan they submitted was the old plan that had the path next to the roadway, not separated back like I told them they needed to. So I will be following up with my staff today, or tomorrow I should say, to see if they have the current plan somewhere else, and then with the school district representatives on corrections that need to be made to make that better.
Thank you.
And you sent me a picture, was that?
It was an email, it might have been a few days ago.
Okay.
So anyway, I can resend it. It's a terrible picture. I'll take a better one.
Okay.
But if you've been out there, you saw what I'm talking about.
You're mainly just talking about the transition from the the ADA ramp over to the pathway that leads to the school. Yeah.
Yeah.
That real narrow, funny corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just kind of maneuver around it, and if you miss it, you're going off the edge. And my ankle goes, no, not again. So,
I'll be in touch with them.
thank you. Appreciate that.
Councilor Herrera.
Yes, Counselor?
I just wanted to make a comment. You know, I came in with the 3 or 4 questions in regards to the Area D master plan, and Shane did a great job of answering all my questions in your opening. You just kind of just went over a great explanation. I just want to thank you for that.
Thanks.
You threw all my questions down the tube there.
Councilor Freeman, did you have something?
No, I was just making sure.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. All right, agenda input. We don't have a work session next week. We will meet again on August 17th at 7 p.m. in regular session. Our next council meeting after that will be on Tuesday, September 8th, because of the Monday Labor Day holiday, and that will be at 7 p.m. And then our work session in September will be September 14th at 6 p.m. We will have our annual parks tour. And I don't know if you've already selected, if the Parks Board has selected parks yet, but I would encourage including Wallace House Park in that because of the work that was recently done. Anybody have requests for parks that we would like an update on? Think about it, and if you have one in particular that you'd be interested in, please get that to either Parks Chair or to Mr. Lawyer. All right, so that's all I have for at this time. One of the areas that people have been asking us to continue to follow up on are one of our council goals regarding inclusion. And I think this would be a really good time to circle back probably at the end of September. September has, is it September or August? One of them has 5 Mondays. August does. So if we could look at maybe the 4th Monday in September, if people would be open to it, this is far enough out where we'd be able to plan ahead for it, to circle back on that particular council goal. The resolution that we passed that included our statement of values that all people shall be treated with dignity and respect, and see where that is and what other steps forward we can continue to take to capitalize on the progress we have made thus far. Okay? If there's any objection to that 4th Monday, we can look at another time.
28th.
So 28th of September. So if you would put that on your calendars tentatively, and then Tracy, you can get back to us on whether that was going to work. Okay? All right. Is there anything else for the good of the order? All right. The time is 8:28. We are adjourned.